You know, I'm sure some of you have experienced this, right? Where you have a friend and that friend has bad things happen to them. It's gonna happen at some point where something bad happens to that friend. And what they're gonna do is, instead of taking personal responsibility for their actions, which caused this bad thing to happen, what they're gonna do is they're gonna place the blame on other people or things, right? And not learn their lesson from the thing that happened. EA is that friend. Well, what am I talking about? Well, it turns out that EA Games recently had a company-wide meeting where they went about talking about the failure of Battlefield 2042. They didn't talk about the horrible PC optimization. They didn't talk about the lack of content. They didn't talk about how bad the game runs. They didn't talk about the bugs. They didn't talk about the development time. They didn't talk about basically losing people from DICE about this game. They didn't talk about the bad UI. They didn't talk about any of that stuff. What they talked about, get this, they blamed Halo and other factors such as COVID for the reason why Battlefield 2042 was a failure. Let's go ahead and read the article and then we'll discuss. Now, this article is of course from IGN, and the report says EA admits Battlefield 2042 failed to meet player expectations, blames Halo Infinite and COVID. EA has reportedly admitted that Battlefield 2042 failed to meet expectations of our players in an internal meeting and blamed the failure of the game on factors such as Halo Infinite's launch and the ongoing COVID pandemic. We know that's not why 2042 failed. We went over some of the reasons why 2042 failed, but Halo being in a completely, I would say, incomplete state, and of course, what was going on in the world right now, it doesn't mean that's why 2042 failed when every other major video game company and or streaming service has seen record profits throughout the entire parade, let's say. Thank you, YouTube. According to a report via Xfire, EA held an internal company-wide meeting to discuss Battlefield 2042, where the executives spent over 20 minutes examining what went wrong with the game's launch. Chief Studios Officer Laura Mile reportedly emphasized that it's important to acknowledge when the company has its misses, including Battlefield 2042. When you want to talk about a miss, oh, lady, that is an absolute miss. One of the factors that Mile apparently mentioned was responsible for Battlefield 2042's problems is the Frostbite engine, which had to undergo a massive update. This update reportedly sucked up 18 months of development time. All new tech, it was basically a new engine. The report quotes her saying, they went back, the Frostbite version they were on was so old they had to go back and update. So it was basically putting the game on a new engine. Now that alone is honestly ridiculous. I know EA wants to save pennies here and there by not having to license out something like Unreal or etc. But if you're having this many issues with Frostbite and you're spending a year and a half just trying to update it for DICE, and honestly, DICE is the only true company that knows what they're doing with the Frostbite tech, then why are you even using it? Why spend that time, that energy, that money to dump into something that you have to update, basically give a whole new engine, and then be like, oh, by the way, time to crunch. Now, Mile also apparently spoke about the work from home environment as a result of the ongoing parade that we have across the world that impacted the development cycle midway through. She reportedly said, add up all of this new innovation, all of this ambition for the new project, and then you have a global parade halfway into the project. Yeah, that can be a total factor. Where the game teams had to work from home, we ended up with more new variables in development than we've ever experienced before. I think everybody has, but we've been in this for 2 years now. It's almost like using Teams or Zoom could have been a much easier solution to get things done, but hey, armchair developer over here. After the Battlefield beta last summer, players provided feedback on bugs and other areas of the game. While early impressions were positive, later mock reviews prior to launch revealed the game had more bugs than expected. However, the report says Mile claimed the surprise launch of Halo Infinite's multiplayer was a turning point, which came a mere 4 days earlier than Battlefield 2042's release on November 19th. Compared to Halo Infinite, Battlefield 2042 wasn't as polished, so EA reportedly believes players had a more favorable view of the former. And this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is really what burns my ass about this whole thing. EA knew from the very beginning that 2042 was not going to be a polished game. They knew it was not going to be a good game, and they knew it was going to have a massive amount of bugs. They had it with the pre-reviews, they had it with playtesting, and they knew it because they even said it in their own statement when they had that company-wide meeting. They felt the surprise launch of Halo Infinite was going to ruin them because of the fact that Halo was a more polished game. Surprise! What do you think was going to happen? That a more polished game would have less people playing it or more people? Gee, I wonder. And Halo Infinite is not without its faults. Let me tell you right now, the fact that there's no anti-cheat and it has a plethora of issues that it still has not fixed after what? Almost 3 months of being out that are still there? Trust me, it's not as polished as you think. But the fact that EA thought Halo Infinite was more polished than Battlefield 2042? Now that, my friends, says a lot about the state of video games in modern gaming right now. We all know modern gaming is not where it needs to be, and the quality control of modern gaming is absolute trash. However, to have the gall, the gumption, the audacity, the testicular fortitude to go out and blame another video game for being more polished than your own and thinking you were going to be able to screw over consumers by saying, well, you know what? We launched first. There wasn't another game in town. This is the one you should play, and then have it be bad in the first place. And you knew you were launching a bad game and a broken game. That's the biggest. Oh, it's like, it's right in your hands. They knew the game was bad. They knew the game was broken. They knew the game had bugs, and they still launched the game. That is the most, like, how do you expose yourself? You literally just went on camera and said, yeah, I'm the one that did it. I did the crime. What are you gonna do about it? And then you wonder why so many people hate EA still. God, oh God, it never ends. You know, sometimes I wish that the gaming industry would crash just one good time, give ourselves a good reset, go back to having good games and just, less on graphics and more on gameplay. But that's just me. I'm an old boomer. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think EA completely exposed themselves? Do you think this is Halo's fault? Halo's fault. Do you think anything else might have impacted them, or should they have delayed the game, which is my opinion on what should have been going on with 2042? Let me know, like I said, in the comment section down below. Hope you guys have a great one, and I'll see you next time.